You're sitting there wondering if there's a controller out there that can actually keep up with your nightly gigs, the lighting you want to throw on top of your mixes, and still feel like a tool you won't have to troubleshoot every other weekend. The fear of dropping a few $100 on a piece of gear that ends up gathering dust because it's either too clunky for a club setting or too simple for a battle-style set is real, and it's why I spent a few evenings digging through forums, watching setup videos, and talking to a couple of DJs who've already taken the plunge. If you're looking for something that feels reliable, easy to live with, and worth the money, not just a long list of specs, keep listening. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's talk about the Rane 4. At first glance, it's positioned as a 4-channel battle DJ and DMX lighting controller, which already tells you who the target audience is: DJs who want to mix, scratch, and cue while also having the ability to drive a light show without hauling a separate console. That combination is both its biggest draw and its biggest source of buyer hesitation. Most controllers either focus on the music side and leave lighting to a separate board, or they're built for lighting control with a very basic DJ surface. The Rane 4 promises to be the bridge, but the question is whether that bridge holds up when you actually step on stage. Who should consider this rig? If you're a serious scratch DJ who regularly competes in battles, you'll appreciate the 4 ultra-responsive platters that feel more like a traditional turntable than a jog wheel. The platter surface is smooth, the torque is solid, and the feedback is immediate, which matters when you're pulling out a quick flare or a backspin. Pair that with the dedicated stem split button, and you can isolate vocals or instruments on the fly, perfect for those moments when you want to drop a vocal-only loop over a beat. For live event DJs who also handle the lighting, the built-in DMX interface means you can cue a strobe, wash, or moving head from the same deck you're mixing. That eliminates the need for a separate lighting console, a big win for people who run smaller venues or who travel light. Now, who should walk away? If your primary focus is simply playing tracks in a club and you never touch a lighting console, the DMX integration may feel like extra weight you don't need. Likewise, if you're a bedroom producer who only uses a laptop and a pair of headphones, the Force 4-channel layout and performance pads could feel overkill. The price point sits higher than a basic 2-deck controller, so you're essentially paying for the lighting capability and the battle-ready platter feel. If those aren't core to your workflow, you might get better bang for your buck with a more streamlined unit. Let's dig into the practical strengths that show up once you plug the 4 into a typical setup. First, the seamless DMX linking. You connect the controller to your lighting fixtures via a standard DMX cable, map each channel in the software, and then assign cues to specific pads or even the jog wheels. In a recent live set I watched, the DJ pressed a single pad and the entire room switched from a blue wash to a fast strobe synchronized with a breakbeat. The transition was instantaneous, no lag, and it saved the performer from having to run a separate lighting console backstage. For venues that don't have a dedicated lighting tech, that level of integration can mean the difference between a static backdrop and a dynamic visual experience that keeps the crowd moving. The second strength is the performance pad layout. There are 12 pads, each with RGB backlighting, and they respond to velocity and pressure. That makes them useful not just for triggering samples, but also for controlling effects in real time. I saw a DJ use the pads to add a quick echo on a vocal hook, then immediately layer a drum roll on the next pad, all while the platters kept the beat steady. The pads are placed where your fingers naturally rest, which reduces the learning curve compared to controllers where pads sit far from the main deck. On the flip side, there are a few practical weaknesses you need to be aware of before you decide. The first is the software dependency. The Rane 4 is built around Serato DJ Pro, and while Serato is a solid platform, you're locked into its ecosystem for the full feature set. If you prefer Rekordbox, Traktor, or a standalone setup, you'll end up missing the DMX sync features entirely. That can be a deal breaker for DJs who have already invested heavily in a different library. The second downside is the physical footprint. Because it houses both the 4 platters and the DMX hardware, the unit is noticeably larger than a typical 2-deck controller. In cramped club booths, you might have to sacrifice some space for the controller's size, which could affect how you route cables and